If you have ever observed men and women who attain great wealth only to watch it slip through their fingers like sand, you will understand a simple and immutable truth. Wealth, power, and influence are not merely the product of opportunity or intelligence, they are the offspring of mental discipline and the mastery of emotion. If you allow your feelings to rule your actions, you surrender your power, your purpose, and your future. Your mind, when left unchecked, becomes a turbulent sea in which opportunity drowns before it can be seized. Consider for a moment the man who acquires great wealth yet cannot govern his impulses. He succumbs to anger when confronted by criticism, to fear when faced with uncertainty, and to desire when temptation presents itself. He reacts before he reasons, he acts before he thinks. And in these moments of surrender, the riches he has earned slip away, leaving him only with regret and the bitter taste of what could have been. This is not the fate of chance. It is the consequence of a mind untrained, an inner world left ungoverned. The first principle to understand, and one that separates the masters from the mediocre, is the law of mental neutrality. Emotional detachment does not mean coldness or indifference. It does not demand that you forsake passion or diminish your humanity. Rather, it requires that you rise above reactive impulses and train your mind to observe without being enslaved. Think of the mind as a mighty instrument. If it is constantly shaken by fear, anger, jealousy, or desire, it cannot play the symphony of success. If, however, it is held steady, disciplined, and deliberate, it becomes a tool capable of shaping your destiny. To attain this, you must first recognize the problem. The majority of men and women allow their circumstances, their environments, and the opinions of others to dictate their emotions. They seek approval where it is irrelevant, harbor resentment where it is harmful, and expend energy on battles that do not concern them. Such people are adrift, their lives are reactive, not proactive. They respond to the world rather than commanding it. And because life is neither patient nor forgiving, those who yield to impulse will always be at the mercy of the storms they fail to anticipate. Here lies the solution. Mastery over oneself is the key to mastery over circumstance. The man who has learned to govern his inner world becomes invincible. He recognizes that no insult can diminish him, no loss can break him, and no desire can enslave him unless he consents. He understands the difference between response and reaction, between deliberate action guided by purpose and reflexive behavior governed by emotion. The difference is everything. Reaction is surrender. Response is power. Now, let us explore the principle of thought first, the understanding that every action begins as a thought. Wealth and success are not merely earned, they are imagined, planned, and executed with precision. But if your thoughts are chaotic, scattered, or impulsive, your actions will mirror this disorder. A man who reacts in anger will destroy the opportunities that patience could have nurtured. A man who yields to envy will squander the advantages that diligence could have secured. Thought is the seed, action is the harvest. Without the careful cultivation of thought, the soil of opportunity produces nothing but weeds. Self-discipline, then, is the bridge between thought and action. It is the conscious effort to align your impulses with your purpose. It is the refusal to act hastily, to speak rashly, or to surrender to momentary temptation. Self-discipline demands that you rise early, that you plan your day with clarity, and that you execute your intentions with precision. It demands that you guard your mind as a fortress, admitting only thoughts that serve your highest good and banishing those that weaken your will. Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "Ability is of little account without opportunity, but opportunity wasted by a weak mind is forever lost." Opportunity is never lacking. It is your discipline that allows you to seize it. There are three critical areas in which emotional detachment and mental discipline must be applied: fear, desire, and attachment. Fear is the silent destroyer of ambition. It whispers lies, that you are insufficient, that the world is against you, that you will fail. Most men surrender to fear daily without even recognizing it. But the disciplined mind sees fear for what it is, a false projection of the imagination. It learns to act despite fear, to advance while trembling, to take calculated risks that others avoid. This is not recklessness, it is courage tempered by reason. It is the understanding that fear, when mastered, becomes a compass pointing toward opportunity. Desire, unchecked, is equally dangerous. Desire is the engine of achievement, but it is also the chain of enslavement. A man who allows desire to dominate his actions becomes a slave to circumstance, pursuing pleasures that fade and ambitions that misalign with his true purpose. Emotional detachment does not eliminate desire, it refines it, directing it toward worthy objectives, sustaining effort over the long term, and refusing the distraction of fleeting indulgence. Attachment, perhaps the subtlest and most pernicious of all, binds the heart to outcomes, to people, and to possessions. Men and women cling to wealth, status, and recognition as if their value depended upon them. Yet nothing in life is permanent. The disciplined mind learns to act as though these things are instruments rather than idols. It engages fully in the pursuit of its goals while remaining untethered to the whims of fortune. Attachment leads to suffering. Detachment leads to freedom. At this juncture, it is essential to address the role of autosuggestion in building the disciplined mind. The thoughts you allow to take root within you determine your capacity for control. Repetition of affirmations, visualization of success, and conscious reinforcement of purpose are not mere rituals. They are the method by which the mind is trained. By daily insisting upon calm, deliberate thought, by speaking to oneself with clarity and authority, the individual molds the subconscious mind into an ally rather than a saboteur. But knowledge alone is insufficient. Action must follow. The man who understands emotional detachment yet yields to impulsive rage is no more disciplined than the man ignorant of its principle. You must practice detachment in daily life, in conversation, in business, in conflict, and in decision-making. Each encounter becomes an opportunity to test the strength of your mind. Each challenge is a mirror reflecting your mastery or your lack thereof. And over time, these disciplined responses compound, creating a mind that is unshakable, a spirit that is invincible, and a life that is directed rather than reactive. In the realm of wealth and achievement, the benefits of emotional mastery are profound. Consider this: no amount of skill, no level of intelligence, no stroke of luck can secure lasting success if the individual cannot govern his own impulses. Fortune may smile upon the undisciplined, but it will not linger. The market will shift, partners will betray, circumstances will change. Only the man whose inner world is unassailable can endure. Only the one who has learned to master his mind can convert opportunity into lasting legacy. Thus, let us return to the opening assertion. Without discipline, wealth will not last. This is not a matter of opinion. It is a law as immutable as the laws of physics. The mind governs destiny. Emotional detachment shapes action. Mental discipline sustains achievement. The man who neglects these principles builds upon sand. The man who masters them builds upon rock. The man who governs his mind governs his destiny. Yet the path toward that mastery is neither simple nor swift. Discipline is not a gift. It is a forged weapon, created through resistance, repetition, and relentless awareness. You cannot purchase it. You cannot inherit it. You must earn it through the daily conquest of self. Every morning presents a battlefield, invisible to the eyes of the world but decisive in its outcomes. When you rise and meet your thoughts, those lingering whispers of doubt, those restless emotions that tug you toward distraction, you stand at the gate of your own empire. If you yield to impulse, your day becomes the servant of chaos. But if you assert command, if you begin with order, intention, and control, you transform that day into a masterpiece of purpose. Let us now turn to a principle often overlooked, yet central to success: the power of calmness. The calm mind is not a weak one, it is a disciplined weapon. When a man remains calm amid confusion, he multiplies his strength tenfold. For panic clouds judgment, but calmness clarifies it. Calmness is the rare air of those who refuse to be moved by circumstance. It is not the absence of feeling, it is the triumph of wisdom over emotion. In every field, commerce, leadership, invention, or art, the victors are those who can pause before reacting, who can think before striking, who can plan while others panic. Imagine two men in the same storm. One shouts, curses, and flails against the waves. The other grips the helm with silent focus, adjusting each sail, reading each gust, watching the stars for direction. Both are in the same sea, but only one reaches the shore. This is the power of calmness, the realization that you cannot control the world, but you can always control your mind. When you grasp this, you cease to be a puppet of circumstance and become a commander of cause and effect. You understand that storms are inevitable, but panic is optional. To cultivate calmness, begin by mastering the art of the pause. Before you respond to insult, pause. Before you act on anger, pause. Before you make a decision that could alter your life, pause. This pause is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. Within that brief stillness, you reclaim command from emotion and give thought the throne it deserves. Consider the words of Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire yet valued his own mind above all. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What Marcus understood, Napoleon Hill taught in his own way, that a disciplined mind is the foundation upon which all riches, material and spiritual, are built. Now we must address another pillar of mental mastery, accurate thinking. The mind, left untrained, fabricates illusions. It imagines enemies where there are none, invents fears from shadows, and mistakes emotion for fact. The disciplined thinker distinguishes between what is true and what merely feels true. Most failures in business, relationships, and personal growth arise not from a lack of talent, but from a lack of accurate thinking. Men make decisions in haste, driven by envy, anger, or excitement, and later wonder why fortune turned its back on them. But the individual who pauses to examine the evidence, who strips away emotion to see the raw fact, gains an advantage so great it appears almost supernatural. Accurate thinking demands that you question every assumption, especially those that arise from strong emotion. When you feel anger, ask, what fact justifies this feeling? When you feel fear, ask, what evidence proves this danger is real? Most of the time, you will discover that the emotion precedes the fact and therefore has no authority. Through the practice of accurate thinking, you develop mental discipline, the capacity to act based on reason, not reaction. It is the difference between the gambler and the strategist, between the spender and the investor, between the dreamer and the doer. The gambler chases emotion, the strategist studies probabilities, the spender reacts to desire, the investor calculates return, the dreamer talks about what could be, the doer acts upon what must be. And beneath all these differences lies one secret, the ability to detach from emotion long enough to see the truth. Let me now speak to you of a higher law, the law of emotional transmutation. Every emotion, whether anger, fear, or passion, contains energy. To suppress it entirely is to waste it. The wise do not repress emotion, they redirect it. They transmute frustration into focus, loneliness into learning, pain into purpose. This is not poetry, it is science of the spirit. The same fire that consumes can also forge. The same energy that breeds jealousy can be redirected into ambition. When properly harnessed, the energy of emotion becomes the fuel of genius. Napoleon Hill called this process transmutation of desire into creative power. When the emotional energy that once produced chaos is disciplined, it produces creation. The path to mastery, then, is not emotional emptiness, but emotional discipline. You must feel deeply, yet think clearly. You must burn with purpose, yet act with precision. Emotion gives color to life, but discipline gives it structure. Without structure, even the brightest flame burns out. Now, let us address the illusion of control that ensnares so many minds. Men and women often attempt to control external events, to force outcomes, to bend the world to their will. Yet life, in its infinite complexity, refuses subjugation. The wise understand that control begins and ends within. Your thoughts, your choices, your reactions, these are the only domains over which you hold absolute sovereignty. To attempt control over others is tyranny. To seek control over the self is mastery. The former breeds resistance, the latter breeds peace. And only through inner mastery can external influence be sustained. Without it, any power gained will crumble under the weight of emotional volatility. If you wish to understand the anatomy of downfall, observe a man who has achieved success without discipline. His wealth becomes his weakness, his reputation becomes his prison. He spends rather than invests, reacts rather than responds, demands rather than decides. In the absence of mental order, fortune becomes poison. In contrast, the disciplined man regards wealth not as possession but as responsibility. He knows that true prosperity is not measured in money, but in mental control. The millionaire who cannot govern his thoughts is poorer than the laborer who rules his mind. The one who commands himself commands the world. In this truth lies the foundation of all achievement. Discipline precedes dominion. To discipline the mind is to discipline destiny itself. And yet, discipline is not cruelty. It is liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of impulse, from the slavery of mood, from the dictatorship of circumstance. It is the path from chaos to creation. Each time you restrain anger, you grow stronger. Each time you choose silence over argument, you rise higher. Each time you delay gratification for a greater reward, you fortify the foundation of lasting wealth. For wealth without discipline is but a mirage. It dazzles the eye, then disappears when touched. Therefore, I urge you to cultivate what I call the calm command. It is the state in which emotion obeys reason, desire follows purpose, and thought precedes action. It is the quiet authority that governs all great leaders. It is the unshakable peace that defines the masters of success. To attain calm command, begin each day with intention. Before you engage with the world, engage with your mind. Ask yourself, what shall govern me today, emotion or purpose? Let your answer determine your destiny. As you progress, you will notice that chaos no longer disturbs you, insults no longer sting, failure no longer frightens. You will move through life as one who commands storms rather than flees from them. And in that unbroken composure lies the secret of enduring success. Because the truth, my friend, is this: wealth may come through opportunity, but it endures only through discipline. The greatest empire you will ever rule is the empire within yourself. Every thought, every emotion, every decision is a citizen of that kingdom, and if you do not govern them wisely, they will rebel. The undisciplined mind is a nation at war with itself. Fear battles ambition, desire clashes with reason, doubt poisons faith. But the disciplined mind is a united empire, every force within it aligned toward one clear purpose. This is what I call the law of internal governance. To live under this law is to assume complete responsibility for your inner state. You cease blaming the economy, circumstance, or other people for your conditions. You recognize that your results are not dictated by what happens to you, but by what happens within you. The moment you grasp this truth, you ascend from victim to architect. You move from the chaos of reaction to the command of creation. Imagine yourself as the ruler of an invisible realm. Your emotions are your subjects. Your thoughts are your advisors. Your will is the throne upon which order is established. Now ask yourself, are you a wise ruler or a tyrant? Do your emotions serve your vision or do they overthrow it? A wise ruler governs with law and clarity. A tyrant governs with impulse and fear. In the same way, an undisciplined person rules their mind with emotion. A master rules their emotions with principle. The law is simple. What you do not rule will eventually rule you. If you do not command your fear, it will dictate your decisions. If you do not command your desires, they will determine your destiny. And if you do not command your thoughts, they will enslave you with illusions. To rule the inner world, begin with order. Keep your thoughts organized as a general keeps his soldiers. Begin your day by reviewing your purpose, as a commander reviews his strategy. When your mind starts to wander, recall it as a leader recalls a distracted army. Over time, your mind will learn obedience not through force, but through consistent authority. Once order is established, enforce law. The laws of your inner world should be based on your highest values. Write them down if you must. For instance, I will not allow anger to decide my words. I will not allow fear to dictate my opportunities. I will not allow doubt to distort my vision. These are the laws of kingship within. Without law, there is anarchy. With law, there is power. The disciplined man lives by principle, not by preference. He acts according to values, not moods. While others shift with emotion, he remains fixed by decision. And because of this, fortune trusts him. Wealth remains with him. Opportunity recognizes him as a stable vessel capable of bearing its weight. Now, let us discuss the principle of cause and conscious response. Every moment in life presents a choice to react or to respond. Reaction is instinctive, response is intelligent. Reaction is emotional, response is deliberate. Reaction belongs to the animal, response belongs to the master. The universe operates on cause and effect. Every effect you experience is the offspring of a prior cause, usually a thought, a choice, or an attitude. If you react unconsciously, you create causes that bring suffering. If you respond consciously, you create causes that bring prosperity. To master this principle, you must slow the tempo of your thinking. Observe yourself in real time. When insulted, pause before replying. When frightened, breathe before deciding. When tempted, reflect before acting. This moment of awareness separates the wise from the foolish, the rich from the reckless. The one who acts after reflection commands his destiny. The one who reacts without thought becomes its slave. It is through this principle that you learn to transmute pressure into power. Consider the man in negotiation. If he reacts to provocation, he loses advantage. If he remains calm, he controls the tone of the room. Emotional control is not silence, it is strategy. The one who keeps his composure commands the game. Now we come to one of the rarest and most potent faculties in all of personal mastery, the psychology of delayed gratification. Wealth is not earned merely by effort, it is retained by patience. The undisciplined man seeks reward before mastery, pleasure before progress, and comfort before growth. The disciplined man inverts this order. He sacrifices momentary ease for permanent gain. Delayed gratification is the cornerstone of enduring success. It is the ability to postpone the thrill of consumption for the fulfillment of creation. It is the decision to save rather than spend, to study rather than indulge, to build rather than boast. Every fortune, every empire, every masterpiece was built by those who chose to wait when others demanded instant reward. Understand this: time is the true currency of wealth. The one who controls his impulses controls his timeline. When you can wait calmly, strategically, deliberately, you operate on a plane inaccessible to the impatient. You are no longer seduced by the illusion of immediacy. You know that every worthy reward demands gestation. Nature itself teaches this truth. The seed must spend time underground before it can bear fruit. The diamond must endure pressure before it can shine. The mind must suffer discipline before it can produce genius. Impatience, therefore, is the death of greatness. The disciplined man regards time as his greatest ally. He does not rush, he does not panic, he moves with purpose, for he knows that the universe rewards those who persist with calm confidence. And when the impatient man exhausts himself chasing quick results, the disciplined man collects the compound interest of his patience. This patience is not passive, it is active, waiting, filled with faith, clarity, and preparation. It is the stillness before the strike, the silence before the symphony. It is not waiting for opportunity, it is preparing for inevitability. Now let us explore the construction of what I call the inner fortress of purpose. If discipline is the structure, then purpose is the foundation. Without purpose, discipline collapses into self-punishment. Without purpose, patience becomes stagnation. But with purpose, every sacrifice becomes sacred. Purpose is the supreme compass of the disciplined mind. It directs thought, restrains emotion, and unifies all efforts into one singular flow. To live without purpose is to drift. To live with purpose is to dominate. Purpose is the torch that burns through confusion, the star that guides the disciplined traveler through darkness. Ask yourself, why do I seek mastery over my emotions? Why do I pursue discipline? The answer must transcend comfort or wealth. It must reach into something eternal, something that makes your existence significant. For wealth without purpose is like a sword without a hand to wield it. The greatest discipline arises not from force but from devotion. The man who loves his mission more than his mood will never surrender to weakness. The artist who loves his craft will work when others rest. The builder who loves his vision will endure storms without complaint. Passion sustains the long road, but discipline drives it forward. And yet, purpose requires constant renewal. Every day you must reawaken it, for the world will tempt you to forget. Distraction will whisper, "You can rest." Mediocrity will murmur, "You've done enough." But the disciplined man answers, "I have not yet met my potential." He does not work out of desperation, but out of duty to his own greatness. He knows that the inner fortress must be guarded daily, for the enemy of success is not failure, it is forgetfulness. Forget your purpose, and you lose your fire. Guard it, and you become unstoppable. In this fortress, emotion is the guard, reason is the architect, and discipline is the wall. Nothing penetrates a man who knows his purpose, guards his mind, and commands his reactions. Such a man cannot be bribed by flattery, nor broken by failure, nor blinded by success. He walks calmly amid chaos, speaks with authority amid confusion, and acts decisively amid hesitation. He is not attached to outcomes, yet every outcome bends to him. This is the supreme paradox of mastery. When you cease to cling to results, results cling to you. For success does not come to those who chase it, it comes to those who prepare for it. And preparation is nothing more than discipline applied over time. Therefore, commit yourself to becoming the master of your inner world. Refuse to be governed by moods, opinions, or circumstances. You are not a creature of reaction. You are a being of design. Each thought is a brick. Each disciplined act is mortar. And every day you construct or destroy the architecture of your destiny. Let your every decision be worthy of your higher self. Let your discipline become your wealth, your calmness, your power, and your detachment, your peace. Because when all is said and done, wealth will pass, fame will fade, but mastery endures. And without discipline, no matter how vast your fortune, it will not last. Focus is the spear of discipline, the point through which power pierces resistance. Without focus, energy disperses, thought fragments, and ambition dissolves into distraction. The undisciplined man lives in fragments, his mind scattered among trivialities, his attention stolen by the noise of the world. But the disciplined man lives in wholeness. He guards his attention, as a sovereign guards his crown. For he knows that wherever the attention goes, the energy flows, and wherever energy flows, reality grows. There is a law that governs all success, the law of concentrated effort. Whatever is done with divided attention weakens. Whatever is done with singular focus strengthens. Wealth, mastery, and peace are not found by chasing 1,000 pursuits, but by committing to one great purpose with absolute devotion. The sun's light warms the earth, but when concentrated through a lens, it ignites fire. The same law applies to your mind. The scattered mind warms nothing. The focused mind sets the world aflame. Look around you, every genius, every titan, every creator of consequence shares this one trait: obsessive focus. They live for their vision as if no alternative exists. They are not distracted by gossip, not seduced by comfort, not shaken by failure. Their gaze is fixed upon the summit, and their every step ascends. If you wish to achieve mastery, you must eliminate the trivial. You must renounce the meaningless. You must learn the sacred word of all masters: no. Say no to distraction, to temptation, to the unnecessary obligations that dilute your energy. The power to say no is the first act of freedom. Every yes that matters must be protected by 1,000 firm no's. But focus is not merely about exclusion, it is about presence. It is about being fully where you are, doing one thing with total intensity. The undisciplined man does 100 things poorly. The master does one thing well. For true focus is not a battle of time, it is a battle of awareness. To cultivate focus, you must first quiet the noise within. You cannot control your outer environment until you command your inner one. Begin by mastering your mornings. Rise before the world demands your attention. Enter the silence of solitude. In that stillness, commune with your purpose. Clarify your intentions before engaging the day. A man who begins in silence ends in power. And this leads us to another forgotten art: solitude as a tool of mastery. Most fear solitude because they fear themselves. They drown their silence with noise, their emptiness with distraction. But solitude is the forge of discipline. It is in solitude that thought becomes clear, emotion becomes quiet, and will becomes sharp. Understand this: Solitude is not isolation, it is incubation. The seed does not grow in the crowd, it grows underground, unseen, in silence. Likewise, your mind needs solitude to germinate great ideas, to refine purpose, to build inner fortitude. The world belongs to those who can withdraw without weakening, who can think without noise, who can find strength in silence. Solitude reveals what distraction conceals, your weaknesses, your strengths, your truth. And once you have faced yourself, no external challenge can intimidate you. Solitude disciplines emotion. It teaches patience, reflection, and composure. It allows you to step back from the storms of circumstance and see patterns invisible to the impulsive. Those who cannot be alone are prisoners of noise. Those who master solitude are rulers of thought. And yet, solitude is not the end, it is the preparation. Once fortified by silence, you return to the world not as a wanderer, but as a warrior of purpose. You act not to escape, but to execute. You no longer seek approval, you radiate conviction. You no longer chase wealth, you attract it through precision of being. Let us now move to the spiritual dimension of discipline. Discipline is not merely a tool of success, it is a sacred covenant between your higher and lower selves. Within every human being exist two forces, the instinct to drift and the impulse to rise. Discipline is the bridge between them. It is the mechanism by which the mortal ascends toward the immortal. When you discipline your mind, you align yourself with the law of order that governs the universe. The planets move in rhythm, the tides in pattern, the stars in harmony, all under divine discipline. The man who orders his thoughts participates in that same divine law. He ceases to live in chaos and begins to move in cosmic rhythm. This is why the disciplined mind radiates peace. It vibrates with universal harmony. It does not resist life, it works with it. Discipline is not punishment, it is alignment. It brings your actions into conformity with your highest truth. It transforms desire into will, chaos into creation, reaction into revelation. Those who see discipline as restriction do not understand freedom. True freedom is not doing whatever you wish, it is being powerful enough to choose wisely. The slave acts on impulse. The free man acts on intention. Discipline is the price of that freedom, and the price is worth paying. Now we approach the crescendo of all mastery, the discipline that outlives the man. Every great life leaves behind a pattern, an echo of its discipline. Buildings may crumble, fortunes may vanish, reputations may fade, but the disciplined life engraves itself upon eternity. The disciplined man does not chase immortality through fame. He achieves it through influence. His habits outlive him. His thoughts ripple through generations. His example becomes a template for those who follow. When you master your emotions, you raise the standard of humanity. When you think clearly, you purify the collective mind. When you act with integrity, you contribute to the moral wealth of the world. You may die, but your discipline remains as structure in others, as inspiration in the young, as wisdom in the future. That is the legacy of the disciplined, not wealth measured in coin, but wealth measured in consequence. Therefore, live as though your actions are the blueprint for eternity. Govern your mind as though generations depend upon it, for they do. For every disciplined life adds order to the universe, and every undisciplined life adds chaos. The sum of all human greatness is nothing more than the sum of individual discipline. Now hear this final truth. Wealth will come and go, but mastery remains. The markets may rise, the titles may fade, the applause may stop, but your discipline will always serve you. When all else collapses, discipline rebuilds. When fortune turns against you, discipline steadies you. When time erodes everything, discipline endures. So build your empire not of gold, but of character. Build your fortune not of possessions, but of principles. Build your legacy not of comfort, but of conviction. For in the end, every man must confront himself and answer one question. Did I rule my mind, or did it rule me? Those who answer, I ruled, are the true kings of life. And their wealth, though unseen by the eyes of the world, will never fade. Because without discipline, wealth will not last. But with it, your influence will outlive the centuries. There exists a deeper law beneath all the principles we have explored, a truth that transcends finance, psychology, and success itself. It is the metaphysical foundation of mastery. The understanding that mind is the architect of destiny and discipline is the divine law through which mind manifests order in the chaos of potential. Every thought is a vibration, every emotion a frequency. The undisciplined man radiates confusion and attracts confusion. The disciplined man radiates clarity and attracts order. The universe does not respond to wishes, it responds to structure. Thought without discipline is noise. Disciplined thought becomes law. This is why those who master themselves seem to move through life as if guided by unseen intelligence. They are not lucky, they are aligned. Their inner precision resonates with the natural rhythm of creation. As within, so without. The law of correspondence declares, whatever is organized in the mind will eventually be organized in the world. Therefore, emotional detachment is not a denial of feeling it, is the purification of vibration. When you detach from fear, you cease to send it into the world. When you detach from greed, you cease to attract loss. When you detach from anger, you cease to multiply conflict. In mastering yourself, you harmonize with universal law. Understand this. Your inner discipline shapes the outer world more powerfully than any market trend, political event, or external opportunity. You are the unmoved mover of your own fate. Each time you discipline your thoughts, you give command to invisible forces. Each time you restrain a reaction, you send a signal of mastery to the universe itself. I am ready to be entrusted with power. Now let us descend into the chain of cause and destiny. Every effect in your life, your wealth, your peace, your relationships, is the direct offspring of a mental cause. Your circumstances are not enemies, they are mirrors. If the reflection is chaotic, it is not the mirror that must change, but the face you present to it. You cannot control the harvest of today, for it was planted yesterday. But you can control the seed you plant now, and that seed is thought disciplined by will. A single disciplined thought repeated daily becomes a law of your being, and that law shapes your reality with mathematical precision. When you master cause, destiny bends. Most people drift because they live in effect, they react to conditions rather than create them. But the master operates from cause. He acts first inwardly, forming the image of what must be, holding it steady against all doubt, feeding it with emotion purified by will. And then, as surely as dawn follows night, life reorganizes itself around that command. This is the creative secret behind all enduring wealth, the union of vision and discipline. Vision without discipline is hallucination. Discipline without vision is exhaustion. Combine them, and you become unstoppable. The disciplined mind does not rush manifestation. It commands it through patience. It knows that every idea must gestate, that time is not an enemy, but an ally. The impatient mind destroys its own harvest by digging up the seed before it grows. The disciplined mind waters the soil, waits in faith, and reaps in season. And here, in this quiet balance of will and surrender, discipline becomes divine. It ceases to be mere effort and becomes a state of grace, a partnership with the laws that govern all creation. Now hear me clearly. There is a level of mastery beyond motivation, beyond strategy, beyond even success. It is the realm of inner sovereignty, where discipline becomes identity. The man no longer forces himself to act with control. He is control. He does not fight for focus. He is focus. He no longer tries to remain calm. He is calm. At this level, wealth, peace, and influence flow naturally, for they are no longer pursued. They are expressed. You have become the law you once struggled to obey. This is the summit of emotional detachment, not indifference, but total presence. You feel everything, yet nothing rules you. You experience loss without despair, victory without arrogance, pleasure without slavery. You are unmoved, not because you are cold, but because you are complete. In this state, success is no longer an achievement, it is a reflection. The outer world becomes the mirror of an inner kingdom perfectly ordered. And that, my friend, is the eternal formula. Discipline, order, power, peace. Power without peace is tyranny. Peace without power is stagnation. But when discipline births both, you become a creator in harmony with creation itself. Now let me speak directly to the soul of you who listens you, who seek mastery, wealth, and fulfillment. There will come nights when you doubt the worth of your effort, mornings when you feel the weight of repetition. There will come temptations to abandon the path, to indulge the comfort that whispers, "You've done enough." But in those moments, remember this: discipline is the silent test that separates kings from servants, creators from consumers, masters from men. The world will never reward emotion, it rewards execution. It does not respect reaction, it respects resolve. You will know you are close to mastery when peace becomes more appealing than pleasure, when solitude feels more powerful than applause, when long-term truth outweighs short-term thrill. At that point, you will no longer chase success, you will embody it. Wealth will not define you, you will define wealth. Because wealth, in its truest form, is order, order of thought, order of emotion, order of action. Money merely reflects that inner order in visible form. The undisciplined man wins the lottery and loses it, because he has acquired wealth faster than he has become it. The disciplined man builds wealth slowly, deliberately, until he and his fortune are one. What you truly are, you cannot lose. What you merely possess, you eventually will. That is why the universe removes from the unready what it gave in excess to preserve the balance of law. It gives lasting abundance only to those who have earned the inner structure to sustain it. So if fortune eludes you, do not despair. It is not punishment, it is preparation. The universe is waiting for your discipline to catch up to your desire. Once it does, nothing can stop the flow. Therefore, train your mind as a warrior trains his blade. Sharpen it daily against resistance. Test it in silence. Polish it through reflection. And when life presents its chaos, draw that blade not in anger, but in mastery. Because in the end, success is not something you win, it is something you become. And becoming demands discipline. Now take this final command to heart. Guard your mind as the treasury of your destiny. Do not spend your attention on trivialities. Do not waste your energy on emotional battles unworthy of your purpose. Do not allow the lower self to negotiate with the higher. You are not here to drift, you are here to direct. You are not here to react, you are here to rule. The throne of your mind awaits your command. Sit upon it with dignity. Rule it with wisdom. Discipline your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, your time and life will kneel before you. But with discipline, true, conscious, unwavering discipline, you will rise above circumstance, you will command your fate, and you will leave behind a legacy no storm can erase. And when you are gone, the world will still feel your order. In the lives you touched, in the work you built, in the example you left behind. This is the final victory of discipline, to become eternal through excellence, to become infinite through integrity, to become unshakable through inner command. So stand now in the silence of understanding, and let this truth engrave itself upon your soul. He who masters himself masters all, and that mastery is the only wealth that will ever endure.